Chapter 1954. Sealing the Crow of Evil. The perfect combination of Serial and Midolin's abilities made it difficult for the Crow of Evil to exert its tyrannical power. He howled to fight and kill, not afraid of any damage left by the other party. Stop, don't really cause too much damage to him. Once this guy starts to disintegrate, we will be in trouble. Serial did not forget to warn Midolin. Once the Crow of Evil enters its second form, it will be difficult for the two of them to effectively suppress it. If it enters the third stage, everyone today will die here. I understand. Midolin directly changed the way of fighting, twisted the sword in his hand, and began to collide with the devouring demon spear of the Crow of Evil with the broad blade of the two-handed sword. Olib seemed to be unable to see what was happening on the battlefield and recited everything recorded in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This time, the Crow of Evil had been suppressed by the two angels of Sun and Moon with a combined attack. No matter how they separated and collided, it was difficult to avoid the entanglement of the two. He seemed to feel something disgusting. After seeing the rune chains emitting holy light all over the sky entangled around him, for the first time, he chose to flee this area. Moonlight seemed to have substance, and began to become translucent and sticky, entangled his body in the air, making his every move full of resistance. Want to escape? There is no such opportunity now. Midolin slashed with a big sword in his hand. Each sword was full of vigorous sunlight power. The sacred light burst out in the sky, and the oppressed Crow of Evil had no time to dodge. At this time, the overwhelming rune chains had blocked the surrounding sky and were bound to the body of the Crow of Evil. Evil was still fighting hard. The devouring demon spear in his hand was waving, leaving afterimages all over the sky. The black storm was surging with him as the center. Ping ping pong pong. The devouring demon spear collided with the great sword and the rune chains, and the sound was deafening. However, those rune chains had special magic power and could not be cut off by him at all. Moreover, the shrinking circle was getting smaller and smaller. With the Crow of Evil as the center, the entire area was covered with such rune chains. Hualala dash. A chain broke through his gun ring and tied to his arm, and then tightened like a python, along his arm and around his body. The Crow of Evil widened his eyes and tried to break free, but found that he could not do it at all. Midolin and Serial's suppression was still going on, watching the Crow of Evil fall into the sea of rune chains. Olib stood on the ruins in a red robe, reciting the Dead Sea Scrolls devoutly, and finally the infinite light completely engulfed the Crow of Evil. Successfully, Serial and Midolin looked at each other with a happy expression on their faces. The successful sealing of a leader of the Phantom Walker made them extremely proud. But Olib was not as excited as they were, because he knew that sealing the Raven of Evil was only temporary. That was Mammon's dream clone. Even if Mammon was seriously injured and sleeping, they could not violate it. This kind of suppression could not last long, unless the book in his hand was the true original version of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Seal the Raven of Evil in the book, but just bound him here. Snap. Olib closed the book in his hand, looked at the Raven of Evil sealed by the magnificent holy light chain in the sky, and said to others, "We have to leave here as soon as possible." He knew very well what he needed to do next. Find the place where Mammon was sealed. But before that, he needed to find someone first. Chaos holding the Spear of Longinus. Only by getting the Spear of Longinus can the final sealing ceremony be completed. All of this was guided by His Holiness the Pope, and there would be absolutely no mistakes. Looking at the Templars and Crow soldiers still fighting around him, Olib put down the book and drew his holy sword. Judgment Day. The holy flames can burn all the darkness in the world. A raging fire gushed out from the sword, rushing towards the endless wasteland in all directions. The Templars were harmless wherever they passed, and once the Crow soldiers were stained with the flames, they wailed and were turned into ashes in an instant. Just one blow easily wiped out all the Crow soldiers at the scene. Serial and Midolin returned respectfully and bowed their heads in front of him to show their submission. "Let's go." Olib turned around and looked in a direction in the distance. The Heavenly Father has already pointed the way for us. The Templars came behind him. Even though they were stained with blood, they still followed him forward with a firm look in their eyes. Timeline 1 month ago. Li Changgong came to the East China Sea region and met with his family elder Li Guangxiao. Nowadays, the entire Huaxu country, Jiangnan district, to be exact, Zhangyi's Tianhai district and Shengjing district are the strongest. No matter what happens in the country, the leaders of both sides are respected and have the highest right to speak. In this situation, although other districts understand that this is a gap in strength, they may not be completely convinced in their hearts. For example, the East China Sea district has the most powerful navy. The strength of the aliens in the East China Sea district is not among the top 3. If it weren't for this, the East China Sea region would definitely not be absent from the Battle of Fremons. However, leaving this issue aside, in terms of armed forces alone, they're the most powerful in the entire Huaxu country. In the ocean field, they have been confronting the world's #1 naval power for many years, which has cultivated their strong combat qualities. Coupled with many years of large-scale military supplies, the strength of the East China Sea region cannot be underestimated. So today, the status has suddenly declined, and no one in the East China Sea region, from top to bottom, is not holding back a lot of energy in their hearts, wanting to prove themselves. And the arrival of Li Changgong opened up this opportunity. There were 4 people sitting at the negotiating table. The former Supreme Commander of the Northwest region, Li Changgong, who was in trouble, his distant uncle, whose blood relationship was already very thin, the Marshal of Huaxu State in the East China Sea region, the god of war Li Guangxiao, and the 2 most powerful aliens in the East China Sea region, Xuanwu and Zhuke. They sat at the table and discussed an important matter. Zhuke, on the other hand, had changed a lot. After several brutal battles, many of her comrades in arms sacrificed their lives to protect her, which made this woman serious. Even when facing her good brother Li Changgong, she still looked indifferent. It was just that the fiery red hair in the past had now turned completely ice blue, exuding a bone-chilling chill that made people stay away. With Zhang Yi sending back Qinglong's portion of the Ypsilon origin, she also took this opportunity to successfully advance to Ypsilon. She is one of the most talented people in Huaxu State, and she is a natural Ypsilon like Zhang Yi, Ho Tu, Gao Changkong, and others. It's just that she has been placed with hope by so many people, and she has not grown up until today. There are also many people waiting for the ability of Bingyu Suzaku to shine on the battlefield. But whether it is her or Xuanwu, who has already reached 25,000 points of supernatural power index, they all sit respectfully aside and listen to the conversation between Li Guangxiao and Li Changgong. Li Changgong and others don't care, but they are loyal to Li Guangxiao from the bottom of their hearts. In the army, if you want to get respect from others, there is only one way, that is to show your strength. No matter how high the military rank is, if it is obtained through nepotism, it will not be respected from the heart. Li Guangxiao is different. He can sit in this position today without any water, completely relying on his own strength. Because no one can be arranged to such an important and dangerous position as the commander of the East China Sea Navy just by relying on relationships. He is the kind of person who is called a tiger son of a general. When he was young, he was indeed promoted very quickly because of his family's protection. But later, in many military conflicts, he used his own strength to tell others that he was not a waste who relied on the merits of his ancestors. He has been in office for more than 30 years and has participated in international maritime affairs many times, and there have been large and small conflicts. His famous battle is even more legendary. That was 20 years ago, when he just served as the captain of the Xingyuan ship. At that time, there was a powerful pirate force in the southeastern waters, which was actually a militarized force supported by Colombia. They often harassed the southeast coast and robbed merchant ships. After a long period of peace, private clashes of all sizes are inevitable, which is a test of strength. At that time, Li Guangxiao, relying only on a warship, directly killed into warship the pirates' naval base, destroyed 3 large warships in one breath, and accurately used torpedoes to kill the opponent's flagship and the pirate leader. After this battle, Li Guangxiao's fleet directly won the first-class collective merit. The title of the naval god of war also started from that time. And this is not the peak of Li Guangxiao's legend, but just the beginning. Since then, he has repeatedly made military achievements in the past 30 years and has created miracles of winning with fewer troops many times. It is precisely because of him that the southeastern waters of Huaxu State have been stable. However, according to the internal records of the Navy and the jokes between Marshal Li Guangxiao and his subordinates, it is quite interesting to talk about that famous battle. Marshal Li Guangxiao's oral account is, "At that time, I had just served as the captain not long ago, and there were pirates around who had been making trouble and harassing merchant ships. I thought of taking advantage of the radar and ran over to bury some mines to retaliate against them. Unexpectedly, they were holding a celebration the day I went there. When we arrived, they set off fireworks. From a distance, I thought they were firing cannons, so I turned around and ran away. But since we are here, it would be embarrassing to leave like this. Simply put all the mines on the ship in the nearby waters and fired some torpedoes randomly. And they sailed out hurriedly to fight. In the end, they were so lucky that the torpedoes sank the pirate leader's ship. The pirates ran into the torpedo in a panic, and several ships sank directly." You see, many of the military legends in history have this kind of inexplicable legendary color, as if they were destined to be with him. Such news did not weaken the halo of Li Guangxiao, but made people admire him even more. Because even if there was a component of destiny, it was a great courage to dare to break into the pirate base alone with a warship. This may be the reward from God to the brave. Li Changgong sat opposite Li Guangxiao and unfolded a three-dimensional map. It was a map of the sea area, with Donghai City as the center. Looking around, there were oceans everywhere, with different depths. Guizhou is a place that has always existed in the myths and legends of Huaxu. It is also said that it is the place where, when I was the commander of the Northwest region, I spent a lot of time investigating areas where there were suspected underground ruins. And the location of Guizhou, I can already confirm it. And there must be a powerful ancient race in this place." He stretched out his hand and pointed to the left, which was a very far area from Huaxu, close to Africa. "Here is where Guizhou is." Crossed his arms and asked seriously, "You are planning to join us to hunt for treasure together, right?" Li Changgong nodded. "If you want to go to sea, you must rely on the power of the Navy. In the entire Huaxu country, except for you, I am afraid that only chaos can do it." But he showed a helpless smile on his face, and the three people present understood what that smile meant. If Zhang Yi participated in the next action, they would all become supporting roles, and all the benefits would be swept away by Zhang Yi, and they would at most just get some soup. They had seen this kind of result countless times. Of course, they had no ill will towards Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi also shared a lot of the benefits he gained from Fremons with them, which greatly improved the mechanical level of each region. However, they did not want to be someone else's foil. If they could take down the resources of an underground civilization, the East China Sea region would have a chance to become the world's top power. Dear viewers, thanks for staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.